and welcome to the Acting Coach Network podcast. I'm your host, Savannah Madden, acting coach, award-winning theatre school owner and business coach for performing arts professionals, tutors and small business owners who want to grow their businesses with confidence, resilience and to step into their CEO mindset without burning out. Today is the return of Matt Zina, an author, acting coach and founder of Zina Acting. Over the past 2 decades, Matt has guided actors from their very first steps on screen to becoming established professionals, helping them navigate the industry with skill, confidence and vision. Today, we're talking about something very exciting. Matt's brand new book, The Trinity Acting Method, which launches on Friday the 5th of December. It's already an Amazon bestseller, reaching number 6 in the acting and auditioning charts on pre-sale alone. In this episode, we'll explore the inspiration behind the book, how Matt overcame the limiting beliefs that told him he couldn't write it, and the mindset shifts that helped him to make it happen. This is a conversation about courage, creativity, and the power of believing in yourself. And I can't wait to get going. Matt Zina, welcome back to the Acting Coach Network podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Every single time you do those preambles, it feels like you're kind of climbing inside my head. How do you do it? They're brilliant.
Loads of research.
I need to do more research. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's good fun. I love finding out about all the guests that I have coming on. It's so interesting because literally every single person is completely different. And that's what makes the world go round, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. I think that's why we're in this industry as well. So a lot of the times, fascination of people. And that's what acting is. Genuinely, and at the core of it, that is what acting is.
Couldn't agree more. So, should we dive into our chat about your new book? How bloomin' exciting. So, when you first considered writing a book, what doubts or limiting beliefs were coming up for you?
Oh, you love to go mindset, Savannah. So, I'm from Bradford. And what happens in Bradford is you genuinely do get a small town mentality. The problem is with limiting beliefs, they're not put there by you a lot of the times. They're actually put there by other people. And they're actually not put there as a kind of some evil thing. They're put there usually by parents or people surrounding you to either keep you in your box or keep you protected or keep you safe. And a lot of this kind of small town mentality is kind of this idea of not going too far beyond the garden gate. It's a safety mechanism. The problem is, and I'm a parent, is you've got to balance that with actually don't go beyond the garden gate, but actually make sure you look beyond the garden gate to see what you can achieve. And by the way, you're able to achieve all sorts of things. That didn't quite happen to me. So I kind of grew up thinking, okay, you're relatively intelligent, you did okay, but people like you don't write books. People like you only have the Yorkshire School of Acting. You don't have like an international acting school. People like you, do you see what I'm doing there? It's a picture. It's a label. And the problem is actually we put these labels on and we kind of guard them and protect them because we don't actually realize in the end that they are harming us, harming our progress and our ability to succeed in life. And it took me a lot of work, self-development work, to really reverse that and start to decide actually what the real story was and what I was capable of. And it actually, a lot of my limiting beliefs were started to be reversed through a bit of gamification, really. I kind of really found out very slowly that I was capable of a little bit more than I thought I was. And then from finding out I was a little bit more capable, I kind of, in my truest Matt Zina self, decided like, oh, let's play a game. How far can I push this thing? And of course, being me, I pushed it to the absolute extremes. And with that, just obliterated all these limiting beliefs because I just really found out very quickly that none of them were true. None of them were true whatsoever. So that's how the book came about, really. And that's how I kind of got rid of these limiting beliefs.
And can you give an example of one sort of like tool or technique that you used to really get rid of those limiting beliefs?
Yeah, do you know what? I've got one. I did it just the other week, actually, with my advanced class, and we do it every single year. Now, have you heard of Burning Man in the Nevada desert?
No.
Oh, so in the Nevada desert, they've got this thing called Burning Man, and it's been taken over by Instagrammers, really, now. But that kind of those kind of people. But basically, they all dress up and take lots of Instagram pictures and kind of do this Burning Man that really, originally, it was a very kind of spiritual, mystic thing. Very cool, to be fair. And what they do is they meet in the Nevada desert every single year, and they make a big effigy of a huge man. And what they actually do is they get bits of paper and they write all of the kind of really bad things that may have happened to them that year. They write on this all of the horrible things that have happened, the things that maybe even psychologically they say to themselves or anything like this. And what they do is they put them on the inside of this Burning Man. So it's just full of these notes, okay? And what they do is they have a huge party and set this thing on fire. Now, can you imagine the psychological impact of just watching all of your cares go up in smoke once a year? I think that is so psychologically powerful.
Powerful. Yeah, I was just going to say
Yeah.
powerful. I've heard that technique, but just not on that scale. I've heard about writing your limiting beliefs down and then setting fire to them. But obviously, you write it on like quite a small piece of paper and do it in a safe way. But this sounds on an epic scale, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So, as I was going to come on to say, effectively, what we would do in our classes is we do it on a smaller scale. Obviously, I can't have people setting fires. But what I do is
Absolutely.
I actually sit through an exercise where I do really get them to write down all of the beliefs, not particularly limiting, because I don't maybe think of them as limiting to begin with, but all the beliefs they have about themselves. And then when we discover what the kind of limiting beliefs, the first thing we do, actually, the first thing you need to do is not just start to burn them. You actually have to really get into them and start to realize and really explore why they are ridiculous. So I'll give you an example. One of my limiting beliefs used to be that I was rubbish with names. And it's really easy to say, oh, I'm rubbish with names. And it's kind of a throwaway comment. And then what I did is I actually thought, right, let's explore this. Actually, Matt, you're a relatively intelligent man who can remember pages and pages of scripts. So actually, when you actually break it down, there's absolutely no reason why you are rubbish with names. It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say something or you say you are something, subconsciously, your brain will make it so. All right? So when I got down to it, it was actually comical that I thought that about myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what you've got to do with each of those limiting beliefs is actually get down and actually discuss it with yourself to the point where it becomes comical, and they do become comical. So let's
Yeah.
take a big one, right? I'm I'm one of these kind of. I was born in the back streets of Bradford with only a penny to spare. What can I achieve? And it's like, right, let's just sit and work that out, okay? And then you start to again see the comical side of it. You actually then start to discover all of the people that have done. David Hockney was born a mile up the road. He's the most famous living artist in the world, one of the most successful artists ever, you know? And you really start to laugh at yourself. Some of the most amazing people in literature, some of the most amazing people in pop culture, all from Bradford. And you just start to laugh at yourself and you find it funny that apparently I'm not capable of actually, compared with these people, just writing a book or deciding that I'm not the Yorkshire School of Acting. I'm actually Matt Zina acting. I can be front and center of it and go international and online. You start to find these things comical. And then once you've gone through every single one of your limiting beliefs and found them absolutely comical to the point where you are maybe laughing out loud, that's the point where if you're on your own, you either go outside and burn them, okay? Or you literally just tear them up in front of you and put them in the bin and just kind of see that psychologically powerful action of just seeing it go into the bin and knowing that they are gone forever. And that's the best way I've ever found of getting rid of your limiting beliefs as an exercise.
That's brilliant, because that's something that people could take away right now, right here, right now, and go and do if they've got some things that they're really struggling with, or even just making a list, as you say you've done with your actors in class, making a list of things that they think about themselves, which might not necessarily be limiting right now, but they could maybe go that way.
Just a really good quick point on that, Savannah, just really, really quickly. And I think it's important to say, yes, You have to do this exercise because limiting beliefs are holding you back. I hope you took a lot of value from that. But the one thing that you have to realize is by the way, new limiting beliefs are always put in there. New ones are always put in there. You have to, some old ones come back. This is not something that you do as a one-off. For
No,
me,
no, no,
and
no.
I do this with my advanced classes within MZA. We do this every single year. It's a constant process. I just wanted to make that clear.
100% not a one-off exercise. So do you think then, Matt, that there was a turning point for you that made you just decide, like, I can do this. I'm going to write my book?
Do you know what? COVID, okay? A lot of books came out of COVID. Now, I've obviously done this for 2 decades, and the Trinity as an acting method is something I've developed over 2 decades. And I knew at some point I'd have to write this down for it to be, for people were learning and people were doing very well with it. But I knew that I'd have to commit it to paper at one point. So actually, I'd kind of square rooted with myself, if that's a thing, squared with myself, yeah, that I needed to get committed to paper. I knew that for various reasons, because obviously when there's not been, I don't know if you know this, but there's not been many methods as such from practitioners really released over decades and decades and decades. I actually put in the back of the book all of the techniques and practitioners that there's ever been, and it's actually a chapter in the book. And what I do very, very naughtily is I actually add myself at the end. And I kind of apologize for it loads. This isn't me being kind of egotistical or big. It was kind of just a lesson in kind of, does the method that I've created sit alongside all of the rest of them, and does it look right, and does it, and yes, it does, because it is a very, very, very new method that's progressive and very, very different. But yeah, I did know it needed to be committed to paper, and then COVID happened. And what actually happened is I knew that there was no excuse. That's the thing. There's no excuse, is there? You are sat. You're only allowed out for 1 hour a day. You've got to find something to do, and you've got to be productive. And so many people, COVID. I'm going to shock you now. I think if I really look back, COVID was the best thing to ever happen to me.
I think it's a fair comment, though. I think it's fair. I think if you weren't affected, emotionally, physically, in terms of people around you were all healthy and safe, and, you felt quite happy in that time, I think it is a fair comment. I think it must be absolutely heartbreaking for the people that really suffered in that time, and depending on what type of work you were in and all that sort of thing. But I do think that it can't all be doom and gloom for absolutely everybody. You've got to see a
Yeah,
positive somewhere.
I love the fact you balance every argument. That's good. It's very true, isn't it? And yeah, obviously, I'm just thinking about me personally and my
Exactly. Yeah.
personal circumstances. But it got me to take away the certain excuses around writing the book. Um, so it came at the right time, and when I really needed to write the book, just COVID in general really got me to pivot on my own business. That's actually when I kind of came away and got rid of a lot of my limiting beliefs, because I had to go online. I was the first one to adopt Zoom literally within the first week. When everybody
Hmm.
else was catching up, I did it within the first week. And
There
then
was a lot of dithering going on, wasn't there, in the performing
there
arts? A lot
was.
of dithering. Yeah, I was really quick to move online as well with my business.
Yes, and that's a good thing. That says a lot about us, the ability to pivot. It's probably why we're here talking about business a lot, and kind of those strengths and skills that we've obviously learned were the things that actually probably made us turn COVID maybe into a positive in a lot of different ways. So yeah, it got me to pivot, got me to grow exponentially, got me to become an international company, got me to think, and really, I just made it my purpose during COVID. We're talking about COVID. We're talking about book, but anyway, why not? I got up every single morning and made it my purpose to help actually everybody. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
this, but I woke up every single morning and did 5-10 minutes on a live, or created 1 minute. Just literally, it was nothing to do with acting. It was just literally giving people mindset advice on how to get
Hmm.
through COVID. And people still thank me about that for that now. Yeah, I think, and it just really you're in business, because obviously this is something that you touch on a lot and you want value around business. It really helped in my business because actually what you've got to remember about business is to run a business well, it's a kind of fair value of exchange. Yes, fair enough. But also it's your focus should always be on other people. And it should be on things like, look, how can I help? If you just have a focus on how can I help constantly, you will come up with the best products and services and you will come up with the best kind of transactional success, i.e., you'll become good in business. And what COVID did, and by the way, it's hard to, you can get carried away with things like earning money and doing well, and you can get, and all sorts of things surrounding business. It's really, really easy to get carried away. Maybe I'd probably say before COVID, the success I was having and all of this, maybe it was a fantastic neutralizer, or it really brought me back into focus of I need to focus on people and helping. And I'd like to think I haven't forgot that since. And if I ever did, rather than waiting for a pandemic, is that actually I'd do it myself and make sure that I came to return to always you act and operate. And the reason why you're even in business and the reason why you're human is because you think about other people first. And in fact, one thing I have done since COVID is I've always, at least once a week, made sure that I have always done something for somebody else without expecting anything else in return. And I try
Love
and do
that.
that every single week without fail, because that's another
Hmm.
way of grounding yourself. And like I say, we spoke about this last time. People in business get demonized all the time with the devil, aren't we? Entrepreneurs are the devil. But actually, I think you can only be a successful entrepreneur if you're genuinely able to think about other people first. Because I don't think you can come up with such successful products and services if you haven't got a general mindset about helping other people and being able to help them with what they need. And I don't think people realize that enough.
Definitely.
Do you remember I got accused online of talking a lot? It's so
No,
true, isn't it?
you? Oh, I don't know what they're talking about.
She was so
I
lovely. She was like, but when people like give with one hand and take away with the other, she was like, this guy, what he said, this was amazing. But he talks too much.
A backhanded compliment. Never mind. She's entitled to her opinion.
Exactly.
Let's actually talk about this Trinity Acting Method. Can you share a little bit about it and a bit more about your inspiration behind it, or the inspiration to create it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a very young acting coach, and I was kind of proving myself a lot of the way because I was so young. Because I started at 16, helping other kids towards their Guildhall and Trinity exams, and then I kind of carried on my own career slightly. And then at about 24, 25, I was doing like lots of different classes for other people, and then realized that everybody wanted me. So I set up my own company. Well, at that point, when I was working for lots of other people and doing different classes and for different schools, what I was actually doing was just kind of like I was a facilitator, really. I was in books, reading, looking at stuff, really engrossed in like different people's techniques. Stanislavski, all 2 decades of it, Meisner, Adler. It was just mad. And then I was taking something and then developing on it and facilitating it in a way that really got people to understand it. Now, what I realized is when I set up my own company, is I was kind of blinding people with science. They were really enjoying learning about it. But what I was doing, I'll be honest, is I was kind of giving it a throwaway line of going, well, all you need to do is, yeah, I'm teaching you different stuff every week, but you just kind of need to decide what works and just kind of create your own kind of method. And it kind of worked for a while, but then I realized that that wasn't quite it. And I needed to put some more work into researching this and why there's all these different acting methods. So the first thing that I needed to do was work out actually what techniques around acting were kind of, I don't know, usable in 2020, whatever it was, 2022. Are we going to use certain techniques for progressive screen acting in the 2020s? No, So it was first my task to really decide on what was plausible and what was needed, basically taking away the things that we didn't need. And then the second thing that I needed to do is I needed to find a way to categorize all of these different techniques that I've been teaching actors. And what I did find when I started to do it is that they actually all fell into 3 camps, which is where the term Trinity comes from. It's obviously building it up. It's kind of, the Trinity sounds very godlike and all of this stuff, very religious, which I thought kind of sounded cool. But basically, I found that all of these techniques fell into three camps. The first one is I call preparation, which is obvious, right? You take a script and then you discover every single thing that you can from the writer's intention to make sure that you're doing the absolute best by that script, as per the writer's intention. I never take it away from that. Okay. And so there's various different techniques I found that I discovered that fit 20, the 2025, but actually also fit into that category. Then I found the second part of the Trinity is method. Okay. Now, method is not just acting weird on set and everyone going, "Ooh, he's a method actor. Wow. Ooh, Daniel Day-Lewis right over there." No. Okay. It's not that. Method is having a method by which to take you from preparation to actually hearing action or beginning your performance, okay? And it's basically being psychologically and physically prepared for when you hear action. It's obvious, right? You don't walk onto a set particularly feeling like the character does. You need a method by which to get you to feel exactly the same way that the character does before you hear action, therefore giving the most authentic performance. So method is the second part of the Trinity. The third part of the Trinity is after you've heard action. You need to be focused on certain things that are going to enhance your performance. We call that application. Okay? So the Trinity is, are you ready? Can you remember, Savannah?
Preparation, method, and
Yes.
application.
Boom shakalaka, which I find really funny, right? Because it's PMA, which also stands for
Positive mental
mental
attitude.
attitude. There we go. Well, hey, so that's a good way to remember. Now, the way that the book is structured and set out is revolutionary. So you've got all of the different preparation techniques that are relevant to progressive acting. So you've got so many different techniques, and they are all laid out, taught in the book. And then we've got every single one of the method techniques, how to get physically, psychologically ready for when you hear action. And they're all laid out and taught in the book. It's in 3 different sections. And then we've got all of the different application techniques, okay? Listening, how to really focus on listening, how to really focus on making brave choices, how to really focus on seeing, reacting to everything that you see. Think, okay? And genuinely, that's all laid out in the book. And then it's got a final chapter of how, using the Trinity Acting Method, you would take the script and study the script and the scene, understand what the output is on that particular scene, how to get the best output, understanding the circumstances around that production, the director, all of this stuff, understanding what type of scene it actually is, the 3 types of scenes. We go over it in the book. And then deciding on your version of the Trinity. Now, if you think about it, you need one from the preparation kind of column, let's call it a column. You need one from the method column, and you need one from the application column. And you kind of go, what's the best Trinity for me to use with this script? And that's how the Trinity.
My question was just going to be, do you use different techniques from each pillar or each column depending on what scene you're working on, because what will fit it the best? Or is it more what suits you the best? Or is it a bit of both?
Well done. Yeah, it's a bit of both, okay? Really, as an actor, you need to really understand the dynamics around your performance as well. So very simply, I think if you're going for an audition, as you know, Savannah, you would research the director. You'd know what they want to see. If you were going for Tim Burton, okay, and you turned up as if you were performing for, I don't know, like Happy Valley or something, where it was really ultra realistic, natural, and you tried performing like that for Tim Burton, then it wouldn't particularly pay off for you, would it? So the best thing to do is you would look at the Trinity and you say, look, what preparation technique is going to get me to do my best for Tim Burton? What technique is going to get me to do my best audition for Tim Burton, and what application technique? And you can see it, you've learned it, you've laid it out. And do you know what as well is, by the end of it, what I've noticed is like, so I actually watch actors a lot. So I'm studying Claire Danes a lot at the minute. And I study actors a lot. And Claire Danes so I look at her and I watch her performances. So the type of thing she's in, Homeland, she's in something at the minute. And what I notice is that she gets certain types of parts. So, kind of broken, psychologically struggling kind of roles. And then what I do is I look at her acting technique and I realize that she's actually using three elements of my Trinity as I've laid it out, but she's using them all the time. And what that's actually doing to her career is she's getting known for certain types of performance. And in the end, it's actually enhancing her career. Because if you've got a really struggling young mom, I don't know, she's probably getting on older than me now, but if you've got a struggling kind of woman who's struggling maybe to get over the death of husband or something like that, you would go and ring Claire Danes' agent because you know what you're getting. And it's because she's adopted her own technique. Obviously, she's not read the Trinity, she didn't know it, and obviously it just marries up. But I can tell that she's using a certain preparation technique. She's using a certain method technique, and I can certainly tell with Claire Danes that she's using a certain application technique. And if an actor can take the Trinity, know all of these techniques, and then just go, do you know what? I'm going to use this, this, and this, and that is going to be my technique that I'm going to coin, and it's going to be mine forever, and I'm going to get known for it, then even better, okay? Even better. So it's really, really going to help actors become smart actors, become the type of actors where people look across and go, they know what they're doing. They've got a genuine, specific technique, and I can trust them, and I can trust them to do a job. And all actors should be like that anyway. It's just that all actors aren't. And the Trinity Acting Method is so accessible because I don't know. I hope you've noticed over 2 interviews, but I am, and I genuinely can say this, looking you in the eye and not being big-headed, whatever. But I am able to genuinely take complex things and explain them very, very simply. It is my strength, and I feel it's my purpose as well.
And have you got any stories of actors that you've coached who have applied elements of the Trinity Method and saw or have seen really good results in their career?
Yeah, do you know what? When you go for a specific example. So last time I went with kind of somebody who had mental health problems. Now I'm just going to go straight out and just go for like an actor that's done incredibly well. So there's a guy called
Yeah.
Sutcliffe. He plays in Waterloo Road, Huey, I think. I don't know. I don't watch it. Okay. He's a hugely established actor now. He's done so well. He was with me from the age of 12. It was his first ever acting coach. And we did so well together and stuff. With Zach, I taught him a certain Trinity method. This is before I even wrote it, kind of committed it to paper. And it's very kind of Lee Strasberg, but it's kind of a very progressive version of Lee Strasberg. And it's where, so I will go into it, actually, I don't mind, but it's effectively where using the preparation technique, we call it emotional start point. Now, you can only ever decide on how your character feels before the scene even begins, right? Because you never know how you're going to feel once the scene begins. So that's just a really common mistake by actors. But anyway, we'll move on. So I used to teach about emotional start point, understanding the metrics, like how much does a character feel a certain emotion, and doing the prep based on the writer's intention. So I obviously taught him to do that. Then I taught him to using the method technique, physically and psychologically prepared. I used to teach him, we call it the wooden box, okay? So this is very Strasberg, where you literally go into your memories. You go into certain times when you've felt certain ways, parallel kind of circumstances, and then you really bring alive those memories until you genuinely feel the way that in which you have decided your character feels before that scene even begins. And then application-wise, you have to very, very much, because what you usually find when you've got polarized emotions is that actually you will have very fixed vision. When you're hyper alert, you actually look at people more. It's why in very, very dramatic scenes, you will see people very wide-eyed and very fixed, because actually that's the most common human condition for very polarized scenes, when it's basically when the has hit the fan. Okay. So I taught him to do that. And then he's gone over to Italy to shoot a film. And another guy's come to me from Wolverhampton, a young kid called Zanda, who's now an established actor. He came to me again, and I kind of feel like I helped him become an established actor as well, got him some amazing parts. And he came to me and he said, the reason why I really wanted to be coached by you is because Zach had his together. Basically, it was, I forgot what the film was called, but it was basically like a bit of a horror film where there were a lot of kids on a school trip and bad things were happening to them. And they were, they were always all in kind of a hyper state of whatever. What he said that he watched Zach and he really had a method about his acting. He would go off and he wouldn't be like jollying it up like all the other kids. He was smart and he was going off and he was psychologically going off into the wooden box and all the things that I taught him. And I was so proud of hearing that. So I was like, and that's why you've done so well, Zach, because you've not only just listened and gone, oh, yeah, that's a nice idea. You're actually putting it into practice. So then Zanda comes back to me and goes, I want to learn how he does all of this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, that's brilliant. And so he used to travel from Wolverhampton to Bradford to learn the stuff that I was teaching Zach because he saw that Zach was like amazing. He was absolutely ahead of his time, in terms of acting ability. And then that's why he went off to did the Last Kingdom, then he did Emmerdale and Hollyoaks in the same year. He's now on Waterloo Road. He's coming in, I think he's in his second year, I think. He's just phenomenal, and he'll rise. He'll keep going like until because he's just that good. And like I say, that was the biggest kind of compliment of another kid who was on set with one of the kids that I coached, kind of coming and going, I really want to learn how he does that, and and there we go. I think that kind of answers your question. That was amazing for me.
Yeah, it does sound incredible.
But now the beauty of it is, Savannah, is everybody can learn what I
Well, do you know
taught.
what? I was literally just going to say that you've mentioned that the book is set out in a really clear, informative way so that people can follow everything. So can we literally buy this book when it comes out on Friday and read it and start implementing all of these things that we've been talking about for our self-tapes and auditions? And can we also use it to coach our own students as well? For all the acting coaches that are listening and drama teachers, can they buy this book and start using it in their lessons?
100%. And that's what I want, I've done this 2 decades and I kind of harp on about that. But what that's got me to do is spend a lot of time understanding a lot of complex theories and things like that. And I'm from Bradford, which we've talked about before, which used to be a limiting belief, but now I know 100% is a strength. Because I'm a bit of an activist. We said that before, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally trying to break down barriers. I'm trying to say, like, look, if you do have, if you're on the spectrum, I've got so many people on the spectrum. If you do have learning difficulties, you come to my classes. I will teach you. I'm not turning away anybody, and I've wrote this book in a way that doesn't turn away anybody because that's just my principles and belief. And I've wrote it in a way where anybody can learn these techniques. And I think what comes with that as well is we will see more working class actors coming through. It's just brilliant because it's not just posh people talking down to you in an acting class and kind of saying things in a certain way that where they're actually trying to feed their own ego by making it sound a lot more complex than it actually is. Okay. I'll tell you a little story that I think I mentioned. It's kind of just a quote from I've got a friend called Jo Clifton, and she's kind of Strictly Come Dancing and all of that stuff.
I know exactly who you mean.
Yeah. So I was her acting coach as well when she kind of finished Strictly, and she wanted to kind of go to the West End and be in acting and stuff. So we became firm friends, me, her, and Kevin, a brother as well. Really, just good friends, and she was saying like, she really connected and why we became friends because what she was doing was she knew she wanted to be a better actor and she knew she wanted to convert a lot of skills and go into different areas. So what she did was she was going around each and every town she was going around with Flashdance that she was starring in. And what she was doing is getting like an acting lesson everywhere she went with different coaches. And she was starting to get a bit annoyed. She told me this in private. Probably shouldn't be saying it, but I don't care. But she was starting to get a bit annoyed because the acting coaches were doing exactly that, kind of building things up for their own ego, trying to make it sound complex and doing weird stuff. Then, funny story, she was talking about this acting coach who was trying to teach about tactics, which tactics is just this. I'll go into it again in the Trinity. Tactics is a very, very complex, or it can be a very complex idea. I go into it very simply. in the Trinity, and actually went through it really simply with Joanne. This acting coach sat in a chair and said, "Oh, I want you to make me get out of this chair, but you're not allowed to touch me." And so she was like, "What? This is stupid." So she like, "Get out of the chair." She went along with it, and he went, "No, I'm not getting out of the chair." And she went, "Please." And it was just like ridiculous. And she said by the end of it, like 10 minutes had gone by, she went, "Just get out of the bloody chair. I'm paying for this damn thing." And she just came away thinking, my God. And then she said, "And you just explained it like this. You just said, when you're a kid, you wanted 20 quid off your mum. You kind of said, please. Then you kind of got a bit cross. Then you started crying and your mum started kind of dipped into a purse. And you just said, and there we go. We had loads of tactics. We wanted the same objective, which is getting her to give in, but you just tried it in different ways because you were passionate about it or you really believed in what you were trying to do." And she said, "Why didn't they just explain it like that?" And it kind of was a really, really good example of the approach that I've got and like the approach of, I think, if I was really honest, 9 out of 10 acting coaches in the UK. And it's what this book does. Particularly, I love, as a teaching resource, that's something that I really, really want to push on this. Because again, I think that when we're teaching, we're taught in a certain way. And then we only know how to teach in that way, or we hear the messages of the way that we're taught things. And I hope that this can be kind of like a bit of a me kind of putting a spanner in the works and saying, "Do you know what? Read this, teach it like this. I've done the hard work for you."
Yeah.
I've kind of been speaking to, and I've been practicing a lot because I have allowed people in my classes with learning difficulties and all sorts. I've been teaching this to kids because I realized a long time ago that kids share the screen with adults. I've been teaching this to kids, and I've not been I've been teaching them exactly the same, and this works. So I've actually tested this. So if you read it like this, look at it like this is me basically showing you from doing the hard work exactly how you can teach this in a very simple way, accessible for everyone else. So I've done the hard work for you, coaches and teachers out there.
Yeah, brilliant. And I love the word accessible. I also feel like it's flexible as well, so that it can meet everybody's needs and it can meet them wherever they're at that moment. And you were talking about different people
Absolutely.
with additional needs or whatever it is. You say you've got a really inclusive environment. Everybody is welcome. I think most, obviously, maybe not everywhere, but I think most establishments do have that same sort of ethos. I really hope they do. So therefore,
I'm going to say no.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be optimistic. But my point is that whoever walks through your door, we're going to meet them where they're at. And if we're using the Trinity Acting Method, it's flexible. There are different preparation techniques, different method techniques, different application techniques. So we're using that to be able to portray the character in the script in the best way we can, but we're also looking for those ways that suit us as well and our way of learning, our way of thinking. And I think that's what a lot of coaches are struggling with at the moment. You kind of touched on it, that we're all just sort of trying to coach how we were taught or coach what we know. And that just doesn't work for some people because we're all so different.
Savannah, you're an absolute genius. You really are. Basically, what you've just formulated and needs to go to my marketing team for the book because
You're welcome.
You're absolutely right. Okay, you're absolutely right. Flexible is probably one of the main selling points that I've not explored yet. And it's true. So I do a lot of research on other organizations, not because I'm like competition or anything like that. It's just because I'm genuinely interested in it. Curiosity, yeah, killed the cat. I'm genuinely I love acting coaching, and I genuinely like to see how other organizations are coaching. To quickly answer your point before, where I was a bit naughty, I'm still seeing organizations doing auditions, whereas a lot of people who come to me wouldn't get in. And I think if you genuinely are an acting coach of any ilk, you should not be questioning who you think you can train up or not.
100%.
I genuinely think I could train up anybody. I genuinely do. And so far, that's proven to be true. Now, that's because of my strength as an acting coach. Now, why people are auditioning and basically
me.
yeah, exactly. And picking and choosing If somebody comes to me and has a huge passion to learn and to act, that's enough. That will do it.
Absolutely.
And the flexibility
100%.
element, I love. I absolutely love that. And I'm going to go away and formulate this even after this conversation because I think it's brilliant.
Amazing.
Because what you find is when you're watching other coaches is they're saying, look, come to me. And maybe this is why they're auditioning and maybe why they have to be so stringent on who they bring. Maybe because they're actually teaching very narrow acting methods where they're basically saying
Possibly.
one size fits all. If you do this, this, and this, and this, and maybe it's only one aspect of the Trinity, really, when you look at it. And I think if I really think about other organizations, and really, it's like they're teaching one preparation method, one method an application method without even knowing it because I've never even come across a Trinity before. But I know it. And actually, I am like you, what you've just said. I am flexible because I know that there's so many different people at so many different levels and are only going to connect with so many different techniques. Because actually, what I realized a long time ago is when I was teaching different techniques is people would come one week and maybe learn something along the lines of, I don't know, objectives. And it would be the greatest week of their life. And they'd be like, whoa, and just have the most amazing performance. But then they would learn about archetypes and it would just go over the head and it wouldn't really lead on to a great performance. So from recognizing that people would come in and learn different things and some people would connect with some things and some not connect with others. I think it was that really made me realize that actually it needed to be a big, wider conversation. The Trinity needed to be an all-encompassing thing where actually people are even going to read the book and they're going to connect with certain preparation techniques and not with others. People are going to read the book and they're going to connect with different. And actually, what I do encourage for people to do in the book is genuinely come up with their own method and it has to be the things that they are passionate about and they've actually got to put it into practice and actually see what works for them, the next self-tape they have, the next performance they have, the next class they go to. They've got to try it out. And what will happen is consecutively they'll try different elements of the Trinity and they'll have huge success. And you know what? They will get lazy, but that's okay because what they'll get lazy with is just implementing the same uniform technique. And I'm really good with that. That's what Claire Danes does. That's what actually a lot of other acting organizations kind of do. They keep it very simple because they know that the actors are going to do well. Because having an acting method is what actually sets you apart from your kind of amateur actor or the people at the beginning of their careers. It's having a genuine technique that you apply every single time that you know is going to give you that percentage increase in your output. And you can always tell people who have a method and don't have a method. You need a method. That's why the Trinity Acting Method exists. But also, usually the reason why not everybody has methods is because as soon as you start going into methods with acting coaches, they make it inaccessible. They make it that they start talking about it as if it's the most complicated thing in the world. They use big words. They make people feel really stupid. Whereas I do the exact opposite. And I say, yeah, have a technique. By the way, a lad from Bradford who learned all of this stuff. Here it is. It's accessible. It's real. You probably haven't come across all of these things before. And there's another reason why it's flexible is because you can come at it from different. The kids can come at this who are very, very interested and they will understand it. You know, people with learning difficulties have already been taught the Trinity Acting Method. People from all sorts of different backgrounds, but also people who have been taught the Trinity Acting Method is, well, we've already discussed the Cliftons. You know, they're on the West End. They are absolutely killing it. You know, they've been taught the Trinity Acting Method and they've discovered things that they never knew before. Kevin Clifton has been on so many podcasts as like my biggest supporter sometimes. Like, he was talking about, it was funny, he was talking about, I was listening to one episode, he was talking about a technique and he said, oh, and I had this acting coach at Zina and he taught me this thing and he put a script down and he said, right, and what I didn't realize Matt had done is he'd taken out all of the kind of stage directions and any information about the script. And he asked me, he said, write down 5 things that you think about your character. And he was telling his audience this on this podcast. And he said, I wrote down 5 things. And I wrote down, I think my character's like this and like this. And like, you know, he's a little bit this and like this. And then he said, and then Matt turned around to me and we're actually actually at RADA in London. We'd booked a room. And he said, Matt then turned around to me and said, look at it. You've got absolutely no information about this character. You've got absolutely nothing on the page, which I've done on purpose. The only way in which you have actually brought this about is from your vision of yourself. And then I taught him about, and it's in the book, I taught him about the theory of reflection, where actually, when we're looking at characters, we actually end up describing ourselves. And then Kevin was like, and Matt said to me, he said, relook at those 5 words. And basically, Matt said, you've just described yourself, haven't you? And Kevin said he looked down, and these 5 words that he'd written down really descriptions of himself. And literally, this is kind of already, this is kind of like, I think I was using that to describe how people, even at the top of the game, can still learn an awful lot from the Trinity Acting Method, because there's so many different techniques that there's even going to be stuff in there that you've never even contemplated, ideas and concepts that you've never even come across. And actually, I'll be honest, 25, no, bigger. I'd say 40, 45, 50% of it is actually stuff that I've developed myself as well. That really does. It's stuff that people will never have come across. Why? Because it's mine. The stuff that you need, objectives, Stanislavski, Strasbourg, elements are in there. You need it. You need it. You can't be in a conversation. You can't be working as, with Kenneth Branagh as a director and him talking about needing to have an objective and you just not know what it is. There's stuff in there that but it's explained in a way that is accessible. Okay? You need to know all of this stuff. So everything you need to know as an actor is in there. But as well as that, like I say, for people even who feel like they're at the top end of their game, there's ideas and concepts in there. And like I say, I have genuinely worked with a lot of actors that are at the top of the game as well, in my kind of other role as kind of a consultant, as an onset acting coach and dialect coach and all of these things. You kind of doing private classes within the industry. I've also shared the Trinity Acting Method with people like that as well. So yeah, really, when you said it was flexible and people at all different kind of ends of the spectrum, yeah, it's for everyone. It really is. And well done for pointing that out. I owe you some commission.
Fantastic. And how does this book fit into your bigger vision for Zina acting and your work with actors?
Yeah, well done. It's a really, really good question. And really, if I'm going to be totally transparent, the answer is I don't know.
That's fair enough.
And the reason why I don't know is obviously it's because it's uncharted territory for me, and I'm happy for it to be uncharted territory, and I'm happy to go on a bit of an adventure with this. A lot of all my other and everything else has been goal orientated. I've been like, right, I'm going to do this by a certain age, and I'm going to earn this much and be a businessman, an entrepreneur, and I'm going to do all this. I'll be honest with you, this is just nice to kind of go, I've wrote a book, I'm really proud of it, and it's going to go on its own journey. It's all, I need a bit of more surprise in my life, I think. Okay? And when I put it on pre-release and it kind of ended up at number 6 in the charts for actors, and I was like, right, not even being released yet. It's number 6. It's number 1 in the hottest prospects. I'm like, this is brilliant. Love it. Excellent. I'm now building up to the day of release. So I'm going to be, and I don't know what's going to happen then. I'm working with a publisher. It's all very new to me. I think they can tell that as well. Some of the questions that I ask, but I'm just happy to go on this journey. I've done so much in a different way, Savannah. I've done so much very regimented, the kind of 5:30 a.m. businessman, entrepreneur, got to know, got to be driven, got to be this, got to be that, got to drive and make things happen. With this, I just think it's nice to have balance sometimes and just kind of go, where's this going to take me? Yes, I'm going to do everything that I need to do. I'm going to get on podcasts and talk about the book. I'm going to do a few book tours. It'd be just want to mention to anybody that is, because obviously this is what you specialize in, but I'd like to mention that I would like to come and talk to anybody's students about the book. If anybody wants to get in touch, I'm just happy. I want this to be the yin to the yang. I want this to be kind of like, eventually I just want to, I love communicating, I like talking. This is what you've probably seen that. All right. And I just, eventually I can see myself kind of never retiring, but just kind of like talking, doing public speaking, going and speaking to like young actors and going here and there. And why not start now? This is the book is the vessel to do it. So if anybody does want to kind of get me to come and speak to their students, if you want me to come and talk about the book, I'm just happy to do it. And I work very, very hard. And actually, that's kind of the fun downtime, being able to do stuff like that. So I'm happy to do it. I really, really am. So I think that answers your
Amazing.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I find it really refreshing actually that you just said, I'm not quite sure, and that you are walking into something that is really unknown and you're just going with the flow. I think that sounds absolutely brilliant, and what a nice place to be as well.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a happy place. It's strange not knowing how it's going to go and being surprised, and getting some nice surprises along the way. It's been really lovely to kind of have this or that happen and, be invited, say back on your podcast to talk about the book, to have people look at it, read it and kind of really love it. It's just a journey that I'm just not aware where it's going to end up. And for once, rather than constantly trying to push something, so this is a mindset thing, and I think it'll be really interesting for your listeners and yourself as well, is my biggest problem has always been looking over the next valley, looking over the next hill, sorry, and never being happy with where I am. That's my biggest problem. It's kind of like I can never just live in the moment and just kind of enjoy something for what it is. Business has always been like that for me, growing, I achieve something, it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? You know, if you're never happy, if basically you always think you're going to be happy, somewhere else, you're never ever going
Mhm.
to be happy where you are. And that's my biggest kind of mindset issue that I've never really resolved. So, if anything, having this book and saying, right, I'm going to approach it in a totally different way from everything else is really me trying to put right the kind of, let's call it the last crusade in terms of my own mindset proposition. I mean, it's going to be a lifelong journey, but really the kind of real thing that I've never ever really managed to fix. And I'm kind of going, right, let's just be happy and be present with what's happening right now with the book. It's going to do well. The beauty of books is a lot of the time it's on the strength of the writing, the strength of the impact. You have to do certain amounts just to get it out there, but after that it's exponential. Once it's out there, it's out there. And people are going to talk to other people. Have you read the Trinity Acting Method? There's a certain amount you need to do. But I just want to then, and because it grows exponentially, I just want to live in the moment with it, not look over the next and constantly look for the next over the next hill and the next mountain. Just be happy and present. Now, that's not going to be easy because that's just not how my brain is set up, but I'm going to try, certainly, on this project.
Good for you, Matt. I think that's brilliant. And I think that's a really nice place to kind of wrap things up with you embarking on this next chapter of your career. So, my obvious question is, where can we buy this wonderful book? Tell us.
Amazing. So for now, let's just go. I'm just going to go all in on Amazon. So the best way to, obviously, you can just go on Amazon and search Matt Zina, and it'll come up with the Trinity Acting Method. You can buy it on pre-sale, but actually, what'd be really cool is I'm trying to, particularly on Amazon, which will then help with the wider book sales. It's with Austin Macaulay. We will then try and filter it out to bookstores, and we've got all sorts of plans for it. But what Amazon does is that obviously gives you the kind of bestseller and things like that tag, which I really want the number one bestseller tag. So if you on the 5th of December when it drops, I'm going to try and get as many people to purchase it on that day as possible. Search Matt Zina, search Trinity. It will come up, Matt Zina Trinity Acting Method. If you want, you can go to my link tree. So it's linktr, isn't it? And then .ee and then / Matt Zina. And it comes up with the link straight through to it. It also comes up with free acting class. I always offer those out. We've got loads of free acting class initiatives going on at the minute. So if you want a workshop with MZA, you can do. And yeah, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what happens with it. I'm just going to try and stay in the moment, not get too carried away. And it is going to be popular. I can tell already. I've kind of made it exponential. I do hope as many people get to really see what it's all about. And I hope people like it. I really do. I hope it kind of has, not just like it's a nice book. I really hope it does change lives. Because that's what I think when you commit words to paper, I think that's your intention and that's what you should do. And I hope that this really, really will make acting accessible for anybody who has a passion to do it.
Thank you so much, Matt. So set your alarms for Friday, the 5th of December, 2025, when it fully releases, but you can go and purchase it in the pre-sale, and I'll link all of that up in the show notes. Thank you so much, Matt, and I wish you the absolute best of luck.
Thank you so much. You've been absolutely wonderful again.
And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Acting Coach Network podcast. If you loved what you heard, make sure you're following. And if you've got a moment, I'd love you to leave a quick review or share the episode with someone else in the industry who might just need it. And you can find me on Instagram at the Acting Coach Network. And if you prefer watching conversations, all of the video episodes are available on my YouTube channel. Just search the Acting Coach Network and hit subscribe to join us there too. If you're looking for support to grow your coaching business or creative career with confidence, resilience, and without burning out, I'm offering 3-month one-to-one coaching programs where we can get to the bottom of what you most need help with in your business. You can also find my latest free resource in the show notes. I'll be back soon with more real conversations, expert insights, and tools to help you build a business you love. Until next time, keep going, stay kind to yourself, and I'll see you soon.